Sure. All right. So yeah, I had a few. I had a few ideas for this, and then I kind of Charles Barkley said some stuff about the Live Golf stuff, and then I kind of was like, okay, I think I've figured out what I'm going to talk about. Okay, so bad things happen every day all around the world. There are evil people, tyrannical governments, and oppressive systems that cause and contribute to human suffering. No matter how virtuous a life you try to live, you will inevitably benefit from the suffering of other people. Are you enjoying cheap products that were made cheap in China by workers who are locked in factories at night? Of course you are. I'm not saying we all need to take drastic action to extricate ourselves from relationships with awful people or evil governments. You and I don't have control over the decisions of governments or trade agreements they enter into. However, there are times when some people have the power and the financial stability to say no to bad people. They can do so without making wholesale changes to how they live their lives. Is it hard to turn down a lot of money? Of course it is. But we can criticize people for making the wrong decision. We can make moral and ethical judgments about the actions of other people, including when it comes to money. What kind of world are we creating when we say to people they can basically do whatever they want within the bounds of the law in pursuit of money? That's why I'm comfortable saying that the professional golfers who chose to join Live Golf and the other people who I guess may be joining as commentators, I don't know if it's finalized yet, I think the decision that those people have made is wrong. They don't need the money. They don't need to work with horrible people helping fund this tour. And by the way, ignorance isn't an excuse. I don't care if you didn't know. If you later learn that someone is bad, you can acknowledge it. You can even take action to try to extricate yourself from the relationship with them. When Charles Barkley said we've all taken money from questionable people, obviously he's correct. Given how the world is and how interconnected we all are, it's impossible to avoid. But I have not taken money directly from Saudi Arabia while also being rich and not needing to. Charles Barkley is correct that sometimes people make up words, but the phrase blood money has been around forever. Sports washing may be new, but I think when we hear it, we all know what it means. I'm okay with making up new words if we can basically all agree on what they mean. We can enjoy our lives while also feeling some amount of shame for how the prosperity in America is also built on the suffering of others, whether those people are in this country or elsewhere. We can continue to live the way we have while acknowledging and lamenting how unfair things are. We can even say when something is wrong. As a matter of fact, we should, because there are such things as right and wrong. History is a bloodbath. We can all acknowledge it, feel some amount of shame about it, and allow it to give us some perspective on how lucky we are. What these golfers and commentators did was wrong, and we need to be honest about it. We are not being hypocrites. That's a lame argument. Everybody is a hypocrite at one time or another. Human beings are imperfect. When possible, we should try to do the right thing. We should also acknowledge when we have done something wrong. And there are times when we can simply choose the right thing without making our lives excessively difficult. I'm really sick and tired of hearing people being so comfortable saying that something is wrong, but that's the way of the world and we should just go with it. If you're going to say that, you need to promote the idea of shame. Human beings should be ashamed how we treat each other. We can still move forward with our lives and acknowledge this at the same time. Don't allow all your beliefs about the world to be shaped by the thoughts and actions of rich people. They are completely out of touch. And that concludes my rant.
Well said. Well said, sir. What's funny is we don't consult each other on what our rants are going to be about. And this week they just happen to kind of tie in together, which I think is really kind of interesting. So, all right. So my rant is, I really like this, podcast. It's on the Daily Wire called Crane and Company. And so, this guy, Jake Crane, who, I think he was a special teams coach or a defensive coordinator at, Southwest Alabama University. And he basically parlayed that into a podcast. They were called, at first it was the J-Boy Show. This guy's name's Jake, and so it was him and his brother and one of his friends who actually played quarterback for the University of Michigan. He was a backup, and so they were bought by the Volume. And so I really like their story because it's kind of like this guy. Yes, he was involved, but he basically used the contacts he had to create his own media platform. And now he's with the Daily Wire, and they've got a really professionally well done show. And they're really good on college football because they have really good connections, but they'll pretty much talk about anything. So, on Friday's, I think it was Friday's episode, they're talking about college football and a bunch of stuff. And they made the point that, so ESPN has their awards every year called the ESPYs, which is basically supposed to be the Oscars for sports. And so they have an award called the Breakthrough Athlete of the Year. And they gave it to this, she's a freestyle skier. Her name is Eileen Gu. Gu is the last name. And her mom is from China and her dad's American. So in 2019, she renounced her American citizenship to play her sport for China.
I remember that.
So, ESPN making her the Breakthrough Athlete of the Year, that was a really problem for Crane and Company for their podcast because they thought that, basically their argument was, well, ESPN is now owned by China. We might as well just admit it now because they should renounce, and their idea was ESPN should renounce their United States citizenship because they're taking blood money. I don't know if it's exactly, I don't know if blood money is accurate for China, but China has a lot of human rights violations. They're taking money from China and that's all ESPN cares about. And I disagree with this take wholeheartedly because look, ESPN still gets most of their money from, leagues and stuff that happens in the United States. Yes. Do they take money from China? Yes. Do they have relationships with other countries that are probably not great? Yes. Because
Disney's ESPN owns or is owned by Disney,
correct.
And Disney obviously has a relationship with China,
right? And the NBA does too, which the ESPN pays to broadcast their games. So they're like, well, we should be, we should only be promoting. It was kind of like we should only be promoting American sports ideals and that kind of stuff. And look, yes, I would love it if, all of these countries, they only supported America and that was just the way it was and they had no other relationships outside of that. But if you look at the Forbes 500 list, how many of those companies do business with countries that are probably not great? We're really going to do this and we're going to take out all of these corporations that do all of this stuff. ESPN's slogan is we're the worldwide leader in sports, right? So how can we expect them? And by the way, ESPN does plenty of things that China probably doesn't like. When they had the NBA bubble and they're putting Black Lives Matter on the court, I can guarantee you China is not thrilled with that. The kneeling before the anthem, supporting these players, when they want to speak out about political causes. I can guarantee you China not in love with that. So I'm just, yes, I do think I can understand, people saying it's, like you said, it's wrong to do business with these other countries when you don't need to. I get that. And I do agree. And listen, I probably wouldn't do it, but we can't be moralistic about this. We can't decide, oh, well, this is it. And this is how it should, this is how these companies should do business. And that's the end of it. And you can't give her the Breakthrough Athlete of the Year when she's not American. Well, first of all, again.
Well, isn't she kind of though?
She's not, she's renounced her United States citizenship, right? So technically you could say that, right? But look, her father's American. It's ESPN the ESPYs are not just awards for Americans, right? They're the worldwide leader in sports. So I don't understand the criticism like ESPN's completely selling out. It's like, no, they're capitalistic. And they mentioned this on the podcast, and I don't understand why this wasn't a bigger point. But if you want all the good stuff with capitalism, then you got to deal with the bad stuff too. Like, you don't get to just, we can't just, well, we'll just, we're trying to be capitalistic about this. Well, then we're not going to deal with these countries. Yeah, but that's not how it works. You don't get to have one without the other. There's going to be some bad stuff going on. I'm not thrilled about ESPN doing business with these other countries, but am I not going to watch sports because of it? No. Am I going to, well, I'm not supporting ESPN because they support. No, they're trying to make money like all of these other companies is. And I'm not saying we need to sell our soul. No, do what you're comfortable with. But I'm not going to sit here and bash these organizations because, they do some business with some countries that I don't like.
Right. I mean, my point I was just making was, as those golfers, as individuals, they can just make a decision. It's not even a whole organization. They're literally themselves can literally make a decision that would be easy because they really technically don't need the money. But yeah, it's kind of, it folds into a larger conversation about, if you're going to have sort of if you're going to have globalism where you're going to have everybody kind of having, buying stuff from other countries and buying, doing a bunch of trade and having supply chains that are based on stuff that happens in other countries, this kind of stuff is going to end up happening. So if you're going to criticize the NBA, then you need to criticize these other corporations, because you're saying America first, America first, America first, but then there's all these other giant corporations that are obviously not putting America first, then I think you should probably criticize them more. And also, like I said, this folds into a larger conversation. A bunch of decisions have been made or actions have not been taken over the last several decades that has allowed corporations to become as big and powerful as they currently are. Okay? So before you attack them necessarily, like, they're part of a larger culture and they're part of a larger system that's kind of, decisions have been made over decades that have allowed corporations to become this big and allowed them to kind of just say, well, we're just going to be totally focused on making money, and American interests aren't the first priority. And it's like, we can have a discussion about whether we agree or disagree with that. I tend to disagree with that in some ways, but it's just, like I said, it becomes ridiculous when you're just pointing to ESPN, and that's what I was trying to say in my rant. I'm like, there's times where we can literally go, you can just make a decision here and make the right decision. It can be totally fine. There's other times where it's hard to extricate yourself from, like us individually, it's hard to extricate ourselves from doing business or buying products from somewhere that's maybe messed up. It's harder to do.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and another point they made was like, kind of like about the skier, Eileen Gu, was that, they were using the love it or leave it argument, which, I mean, if you're still using the love it or leave it argument at this point, I don't even know what to say anymore. It's like, good Lord, like these recycled things that we're going to use. It's like, no, if she wants to she wants to ski for China, if that's what she wants to do, okay. Like, isn't America about inclusivity? Like, I don't understand when did we get to, well, that's it. You don't belong here. Isn't the way to get everybody to unite people inclusivity? Isn't that how you do it? So I don't understand.
That's not what the media does.
I don't understand that. Like,
that's not what the media, I agree with you, but that's not what the media does anymore. They don't like, you're totally correct, but they don't care. They literally, they're not saying stuff and thinking about what's going to be the consequences of the stuff that I say, or how is it going to be received, and what is it going to contribute to? Because what people in the media may not like to admit, but it is totally true. What kind of society are you helping to create by when you're in the media by saying the different things that you say? Rush Limbaugh, who passed away, recently. If you've ever listened to his show, I think his show was horrible. Okay, I think he said horrible stuff about all kinds of people, and I think he helped make society coarser and less inclusive. And angrier, and that among a whole host of other things contributed to Donald Trump even having a shot to be president, much less actually being president. So, yeah, the media doesn't really see things that way. They don't think about the kind of world they're creating by the dialogue that they engage in. So, whatever.
Yeah. So I just thought it was totally unnecessary to start to just, well, now we have to all be anti-ESPN and not support them, and it's just kind of like, good luck.
They've taken a page out of the Clay Travis playbook.
Good luck.
I mean, the tired Clay Travis playbook, which is basically like, whenever I get the chance to attack ESPN, even if it's like the flimsiest freaking argument I can come up with, I'm just going to attack ESPN. Whatever.
Yeah, I think we got to, good luck covering sports if you're not going to pay any attention to what ESPN does. It's like, I don't.
And there's criticism that you can make of ESPN. I'm not against criticizing ESPN. I mean, in fact, if you want to criticize them for, having a relationship with China at whatever level they do, then okay, I get it. I'm not gonna totally come out against that, but it's being a little, like I was saying, you can acknowledge two things at the same time and continue moving forward.
Right. Yeah. All right. So that's what ticked me off about that.
But good stuff.
All right, folks. Episode 40.
All right. Yeah, we'll see you next week. Hopefully, we'll see if some more interesting stuff happens. We're in the sports doldrums right now.
Yep, but we're not too far away. College football, NFL coming up.
Yeah, we're getting there. Yeah, so.
All right, folks. Thanks.